Well, Quebec is delaying its immigration consultations originally planned for this spring due to the ongoing federal election campaign. Immigration Minister Jean-François Roberge saying the province needs clarity on Ottawa's future immigration policies before setting new targets. The upcoming plan, now expected later this year, will for the first time include both permanent and temporary immigration. And I should point this out. Right now, Quebec is only preparing for scenarios that involve lowering immigration levels. Of course, they're calling on the federal party leaders to commit to halving the numbers of permanent residents in the province. Let's go to André Morin from the Liberal Party of Quebec and the official opposition critic on immigration. Monsieur Morin, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
So, to me, at first glance, it seems delaying this consultation makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't do it before we know who's going to be prime minister and who's going to be the ruling party of the country. What say you on that?
Well, I mean, what a surprise. Minister Roberge found that we will have a federal election. I mean,
listen.
To me, I was a bit.
But I get your point. I get your point. But it's not like it. You know, the election was supposed to happen in October. If we do the every 4 years thing, it is coming a little early. Having said that, I think a lot of people could have predicted we'd have an election in the spring. I give you that.
Yeah.
But I also it goes back to the initial point. How does Quebec prepare for something when you don't know what the leadership in Ottawa is going to decide?
Well, I understand what you're saying. However, the Quebec is in a very specific situation with immigration because we have an agreement with the federal, and I always suggested very clearly to Mr. Roberge that he should always take part in ongoing negotiation with the federal government on immigration. I see your point, but I mean, Quebec has a specific role to play, and they also have a specific jurisdiction on immigration, except for the asylum seeker and the international mobility plan. So, I mean, the minister could start his consultation, and if I'm not surprised that he's delaying it, because what I hear from the field in two different aspects. One is from the company's owners, and I've asked a question at the National Assembly yesterday. Many are really scared about the number of temporary workers that they will have maybe to release and send back to their country. It will have a major impact on their capacity to produce. That's one thing. The other thing is the international student, and I've also talked to many principals of universities, and they are saying very clearly that the admission numbers are going down significantly, and that could have an impact on program and in the regions in Quebec as well. So I think that the minister, it's important for Quebec, for our capacity to produce for the research. I was very, very surprised that his idea was to delay the immigration consultation because of the federal election. Maybe there's other reason, but for that reason specifically, it was a surprise to me.
Now, Mr. Morin, does the Liberal Party Quebec have a position right now on immigration numbers? It should be noted, speaking of elections and races, your party has a leadership race underway.
Yep.
And, the people that are running, my goodness, there's a difference of opinion when it comes to immigration. I understand, I know Carl Blackburn wants to just open up the gates and have a tremendous number of immigrants come in, but other candidates are not on the same page. So what is the official position of the Liberal Party, and can your party truly have a position before you get your next permanent leader?
Well, two things. First, I will leave the leadership race outside the Quebec National Assembly. Secondly, for our position, I mentioned very clearly that what we need it's a planning bureau on immigration in order to stop working in silos and have a more transversal capacity of planning the immigration, which is not the case right now. And in order to plan, we should talk to the regions, and that's the importance of the consultation. At the end of the day, what I think is the best way for Quebec and its economy is to make sure that talking to the regions, talking to our owners of small, medium, and large enterprise, they will be able to tell the government how many workers they need. With that, you also have to assess the capacity to receive them in terms of school, hospital, public services. Mm-hmm. And after that, you make sure that you will issue the number of certificates to allow these workers or students to come in, but making sure that they will have enough places and services for them, which is not the case presently. I mean, the Quebec government, according to the agreement with the federal government, has the responsibility to issue certificates to allow people to come in. They are issuing them, and they did in the past, without any planning at all. Mm-hmm. And then the end result is now there's too many people. It has an impact on our social services. Well, the Quebec premier is saying, well, there's too many. Yeah, but he's the one who had invited them. And don't forget, until very recently, and that's another point that I made at the Assembly, the Quebec government was traveling the world to invite people. And by the same token, the premier was saying, well, we have too many. Well, please plan and be consistent with what you're saying.
So let me ask you this. We're with André Morin, who from the Liberal Party of Quebec. He's the party's critic on immigration. It seems like there's just tons of contradictions, right? Because I mean, I know you were mentioning, the business community and how they're worried about the temporary immigration programs. But then you've also mentioned how we do have a capacity issue right now in social services, right? So, yep. I mean, I'm just wondering how you're weighing that in your mind, because I think both of those things contradict each other, right? Like keeping levels high for businesses and then making sure we have enough social services. How do you balance that?
And this is what I think. That contradiction is the key word to describe the CAQ government. That's one thing. Secondly, this is why I said that we need an office to plan the immigration within the immigration department. I describe it in French as le Bureau intégré de la planification et planification integrated office, in order to make sure that we will have the actual number. I will give you another example. I was on the field recently, and there was a specific issue with workers in the hospital in a region outside Montreal. And I mean, they had a good idea to invite people from outside in order to fill the position. But when they work with the government, they didn't plan that maybe some of these foreign workers will come with their family. Well, they didn't think about places in school, daycare. Now people are in. So this is what I'm saying. I mean, we are talking in immigration about human people. Yeah. So this is why you have to plan, and you have also to talk to the federal government.
Well, listen, I guess
CAQ is not doing any of them.
That obviously that does make your case here about how a delay could harm the matter here for delaying some of these consultations. Let me just wrap up quickly with this. I have to be quick, Mr. Morin, but I do want your take on what's happening now with asylum seekers and an increase over the last couple of weeks that we're seeing people from the U.S. trying to get into Canada claiming asylum. There's worries of a Roxham Road 2.0. What are your thoughts? What are the Liberal Party of Quebec's thoughts on this?
My position was very clear. Quebec received more than its share on asylum seekers. So that's for the federal government to plan, and also to make sure that these people will be able to live if they're coming in, not only in Quebec, but outside Quebec. We also have to plan and to protect our border, because we know what President Trump does presently. So we just cannot sit and do nothing. Mm-hmm. So that's important, and we cannot accept all of those. Please do not forget that we have a Canada-U.S. Safe Third Country Agreement, and then therefore, if they are not in a situation where they could be described or receive the status of asylum seeker in Canada, they should be sent back to the U.S. according to the agreement. It has changed significantly, and we have to protect our border, but we also have to keep our humanity. Some people are real asylum seekers. They are just crossing the United States to come here and to seek asylum. So it's a balance. But that's another subject that is important. And we cannot tell the world that the gates of Canada are open. That's for sure.
Mr. Morin, we're going to have to leave it there. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Have a good day.
That's André Morin from the Liberal Party Quebec, the party's critic on immigration.